Hello, world. So today, Brothers Blue are going to be talking about geoengineering, chemtrails, all that stuff. And specifically, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about five different resources that we have kind of taken a deeper dive into. And they have differing opinions and differing science procedures and techniques and stuff like that. So we can talk about all that stuff. And Kyle's actually going to get us started with the article from Ellis County. And Kyle would like us to mention that everything will be linked in the description. All videos, all articles, everything like that.
Yeah, we're not going to be doing sharing or anything with that. So, anything that we're going to be talking about will be linked in the description. And the first one we're going to be talking about is the article from Ellis County newspaper, which I tried to do some research on after reading the article because it was posted in their opinion section, not the news or like lifestyle or the other sections that they have. It was posted in their opinion section. And yeah, I did a little bit of research on the Ellis County newspaper. It's a local publication based out of Ellis County, Texas. And yeah, the article just read like straight up satire. Like that's why I did so much research into this publication, is like I had to actually know if it was serious or not. Like, is this just straight up satire, or are they posting this in their opinions and like giving it legitimacy?
Yeah. And so what did you find out was true?
It's not satire. And yeah, so I guess we have to give that side of the argument a certain amount of credence.
And so, like you said, certain parts of it read like satire, and I will kind of start with that. But then later on, it actually does talk about a specific scientist doing sampling of soil, and I think it's air, whereas the IOP does soil, air, and snow, I think. Either way, again, these are different things that are talked about when it comes to this type of thing. Sampling of soil, air, snow, stuff like that. One thing that they don't mention in this article that might have, and this is the thing, is they don't address contaminants or any other things about sample collection in this article. They very, very much go into deep detail in one of the other resources that we'll share later about how they collect their samples. And so I'll start actually with the introduction, and this is literally the first like paragraph of this article. And she says, in light of digital ID, central bank digital currency, Fed now, human trafficking, the border crisis, the pandemic crisis and deaths, the Ukraine war, Hunter Biden's laptop, food shortages, World Economic Forum, CERN, incredibly shocking US patents, blue streetlights. She continues to name a bunch of other things like fifth generation warfare and BlackRock and Nuremberg 2.0. And just, it's like, okay, so this person literally believes in all of the things that are probably not true. They're not just like focusing on one thing right out of the gate. They're like, well, this is all happening. So with that being said, here's what we think about chemtrails. And so then it goes on to talk about chemtrails and how we are spraying the skies and releasing a certain type of chemicals that we'll talk about later. Barium is one of the ones that's mentioned in the Ellis County article. I don't know if you noticed that, but chemicals being released in the atmosphere will be something else that we talk about more in depth as we get further into the other resources. But specifically at the end, it says, and talking about her her air and soil samples having high levels of those contaminants. It says it validated her discovery and said she ran and never looked back and has been blowing the whistle ever since. Don't believe me? Do the research just like these people. I quote from above have done. Start going outside and looking up at the sky. Oh, and don't forget to get your tinfoil hat out of the laundry.
Yeah, that last part is why I thought it was satire. It's like, oh, so she literally brings up the tinfoil hat thing, and it's like,
Yeah,
so
you're
so
gonna
so
call
it's
yourself
true?
out. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, but like, yeah, I get the tinfoil hat thing is so far into the conspiracy stuff where it's like, are you being like the lizard people with Alex Jones? It's like, okay, are you still being serious?
Well, no, and that's my thing is like people wear them and they're like it's like a badge of honor now.
I mean, people don't wear tinfoil hats, like, yeah,
Andrew wore a tinfoil hat in a video with you.
yeah. As he would point out, that was like 2 years ago, which is like,
And maybe it was a joke. Maybe it was a joke, and if so, that's a good joke because tinfoil hats are a joke.
yeah,
Moving on, do you want to get into the other two articles?
yeah. Well, that is kind of the thing because especially like with proper research, and I wish I had the Ellis County article pulled up because it's Doctor something that she refers to over and over, and if she says
Mm-hmm.
he this, he that, and it's like I had to go back and I was like, who's she talking about? And she is talking about one specific like doctor. I feel bad that I didn't research that person,
So
but
actually, real quick, can I interrupt? Just because
no,
I'm looking at it, and it's at the very end of that article, and it's talking about the woman who did the sampling that we referred to, and it says one woman from the United States military, Kristen Megan, a decorated soldier, spoke out on chemtrails. She took documents with her, and then the rest is kind of leads into what I had previously quoted about that being the whistleblower and like her never looking back and things like that. So yeah, and her being the one that provided these samples. You're right. They may have referenced a doctor early in the article, but at the end, it is a decorated military officer who took soil and air samples, providing higher levels of contaminants.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just bad research, and it's like,
Not done by a non-scientist.
yeah, well, either like you don't have to be like a certified scientist or whatever to get
But
or proper research. Like
agreed. But when
college
it comes to
students
things
do it
like
all the time.
collecting air and snow and other and soil samples and it comes down to science like parts per million, yes, it does take a little bit more of a research person. I'm sorry, science on
No,
that level
part of
cannot
a
just be conducted by anyone.
part of proper research is effect or part of proper research is proper data collection.
Right, exactly, and that's what I'm saying is like that alone, the collection of those samples is probably it's very important. It's very important when it comes to things like that and what you're measuring and things. Yeah, and that type of science. So yeah. But again, I transitioned over to let you talk about the other articles. Did you want to go
Yeah.
there?
No. So when it comes down to like those bad bad methods of research, a quote from the article specifically says how non-specialists can collect samples of surface water to obtain relevant aerosol geoengineering. And it's like, yeah, the IOP article pointing out that how, once again, the term non-specialists
Yeah,
is incredibly relevant.
especially when conducting this type of research.
Yeah.
Come on, Kat. Really?
And
Sorry.
so just to like lay some groundwork for the next article that we want to talk about from IOP.org, I do want to say that throughout the article, they're talking about something called SLAP, an acronym they use. that means secret, large-scale atmospheric spraying program. Jesus. Let's try that again. Secret, large-scale, atmospheric spraying program. Sorry, I'm just bad with enunciation. So that's SLAP, and they refer to it continuously throughout that article. And basically, the growing public distrust of elites and social institutions.
Yeah.
That sounds like conspiracy theory to me.
And one of the first things in there, I don't know if it's in your notes, but one of the first things is that SLAP is a theory that is believed by about 17% of the general public. So yeah, that's almost one out of every 5 people.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. That's nearly a fifth. Yeah. So,
and this is my thing is like, are there chemicals being released in the air? Sure. And I have a lot to say about that. But like, is it this secret large scale program? No, it's not.
So another quote from the article is cloud seeding entails spraying small particles of substances such as dry ice or silver iodide.
Yep.
Exactly. Cloud seeding entails spraying those particles onto clouds in order to increase precipitation. And this is the geoengineering thing that we'll get into later. The technique has literally been used by some states and countries with modest results. In California, Department of Water Resources has estimated a 4% annual precipitation increase attributable to the combined state seeding projects. So it's like, dude, we are literally engaging in effective geoengineering. Like, it's the proof is there.
And if there's a state that needs it, Not only that, but shout out to California, America's true breadbasket, where 40% of our agricultural output comes from.
A lot of our manufacturing takes place in California. Like, dude, yeah, California could secede and they'd be fine. So yeah, also shout out to Arizona. I literally live in like the hottest place on the planet.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Yeah, it's like there are places that are just as hot.
No, and like,
but they're not really hotter.
Like, I would be all about a cloud seeding program in Arizona.
Agreed. Totally agreed. Keep going on IOP though, because I know one thing that I'll just throw out there that we haven't said yet that you love, and since you haven't said it yet, I'm going to take the throne on it. Is this is the epitome of good research. This is a 12-page article. It has graphs. It has like the way they conducted their research. It's very, very in depth. It's a very, very well done. It's a collegiate level, science report.
So one of the
that's too. I love the science in it.
Yeah, we talked about how this article is exactly like you said, like the epitome of academic research and like what a scholarly article should look like. And one of the things they talk about is exactly what you were just saying. That quote, there have been no peer-reviewed studies in the scientific literature addressing SLAP claims. Except for this one. Like, this is like and they mention that in the discussion. They're like, way more research needs to be done. And like, that is a signifier of real research taking place.
No, it's just funny because that's like one of my last notes is like it just being like new science. Like, yeah, and I'll get into that later. It's like we need to do more of it to figure it out. So
yeah. So there is one more thing I wanted to say about like bad research. Just a quote from them is that addressing sediments would increase measurement of metal concentrations, as levels are higher in sediments than water. There was also concern the instructions for rain and snow samples did not include sufficient information for,
Yep.
for preventing contamination. These suggestions on how to conduct your own research were having people use like mason jars.
That's
And
what I
like,
was saying.
yeah,
Is the Ellis County, like, this is a military officer? How do we know she wasn't using that same technique, using mason jars and whatnot to collect her soil samples and stuff? So that's what I was saying, and I'm glad you came full circle on that, because that is what I was saying about the Ellis County thing. Is like, they don't even talk about how the sample was collected. They just say it was collected and that these were the results.
yeah, and so the IOP article ends with them basically saying that it's just like more research needs to be done. A lot of the research that has been done so far needs to be scrutinized.
Agreed.
And I'll just read one last sort of summarizing quote, if that's all right.
I have a quote on them, but yeah, go ahead. I like my one quote, but yeah.
Just for me, summarizing their own article, I'm pretty sure this was in their summary. It says, while we understand that many of the fears underlying SLAP theories may be legitimate, the
Right.
evidence as evaluated here does not point to a secret atmospheric spraying program. So that's really all I have to say is like the more and more you do research is you find out that there's just not this big conspiracy, this big SLAP conspiracy going on.
And I love that I get to finish with my quote, because it essentially, yes, you're right. That conclusion is perfect. But listen to this, and this is at the end of the abstract article. Again, proving that it's a great scholarly work. So anyway, this says, our goal is not to sway those already convinced that there is a secret large-scale spraying program, who often reject counter evidence as further proof of their theories, but rather to establish a source of objective science that can inform public discourse.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like mine was more amalgamated. Your summary really is perfect.
It's the end of their abstract goal, or the end of their abstract paragraph, and it says what their goal is specifically, and I just love it. And that's the thing, is objective science to create the discord. That's what they want, and that's what should be done. We shouldn't be looking at things that are done in like a poor scientific way, or like, you know, and it's so stupid. It comes down to properly using the scientific method. Like, as simple it is as it that is, that's what we're talking about.
Sadly. Yes, just good research. That's it.
Exactly. So, all right, let's go on to the next one. Right?
No, I'm just looking at the timer, and I think before we get into the next one, we should start part 2.
Oh yeah, let's just take a break and we'll start part 2. And so we are going to pick up with Kyle talking about the NASA article that we're going to post in the description as well. And then I'm going to kind of take over the lead talking about the 2 videos that we want to talk about. So,
and that's fine, because I've been pretty dominant in this first half. So,
oh no, it's been great. So we'll just get started. I don't care. We'll just get started on part 2, and stay tuned, folks.
All right, everybody. Remember, as always, knowledge is power.